I took my husband's mom in after her stroke. I bathed her, fed her, paid her medical bills. Then one day, I walked in on them whispering. I heard her say, "She's not good enough for you. You deserve someone prettier." He didn't defend me. He just nodded. That night, I packed her things and called a private nurse. 3 months later, he found my goodbye letter and a list of everything I'd paid off in his name. He's still trying to find me. I'm 42 now. At the time, I was 41, living in Topeka, Kansas, just trying to live a normal, decent life. I didn't need fancy vacations or new cars. I just wanted a man who loved me, a home that felt safe, and a future we could build together. I thought Mike was that man. I met him through friends when I was 34. He was funny in a dry, sarcastic way. He had a roughness about him, working with his hands, always with a slight tan and calloused palms. He was honest about not being perfect. Divorced once. Some debts. Some bad luck. But I wasn't looking for perfect. I was looking for real. We dated 2 years, got married at the courthouse with just close friends and family around. Simple. Sweet. He moved into my little 2-bedroom house I had bought before we met. He joked he was marrying up. I thought he meant it with love. Looking back, maybe it was resentment. For the first few years, it was easy. He went to work early. I worked the front desk at a dental clinic. We spent Saturdays barbecuing, going to flea markets, laughing in that easy way that people who really know each other can. When his mom, Doreen, had her stroke, everything changed overnight. Mike called me from the hospital, voice shaking. "Ma's bad. She can't live alone." I told her she could come stay with us. He didn't ask. He just told me. I swallowed my first feeling, which was, why is this just assumed? And said, of course. She's family. The first week was chaos. Her right side was weak. She needed help getting out of bed, using the bathroom, eating. She cried a lot. She cussed a lot. She hated needing help, and she hated me for being the one giving it. Mike was barely around. His hours suddenly got longer. I knew what that meant. He didn't want to deal with it. Still, I took care of her. Morning routines. Bathing her. Cooking soft foods. Setting alarms for her meds. Cleaning up when she had accidents. Insurance covered very little. We didn't qualify for full Medicaid support because of Mike's job. I dipped into my savings to pay for her therapy appointments, her walkers, special chairs. When the money ran out, I opened a credit card. Then another. Mike didn't offer to help with the money. He just sighed a lot and said, "It'll all work out." It didn't. It just got heavier. Meanwhile, Doreen got meaner. She didn't thank me. She criticized everything. If her food was too hot, she screamed. If I forgot a towel once, she threw things. She once called me a dumb fat cow when I gently reminded her to take her blood pressure meds. I told Mike. He shrugged. "She's just frustrated. Don't take it personal." After that, I stopped telling him. I stopped telling anyone. I just endured. The day everything truly snapped started like any other miserable day. Hot. Humid. The Kansas sun boiling the sidewalks. I left work early because the clinic's air conditioning broke and we had to close. I thought, maybe I can catch up on laundry. Maybe I can sit down for once. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed Mike's truck was already there. Surprising. He usually found excuses to stay out until bedtime. Inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet. I slipped off my shoes and padded toward the kitchen. That's when I heard them. Their voices were low, conspiratorial. I froze just outside the doorway. Doreen's voice, thin but sharp, cut through the silence. "She's not good enough for you. You deserve someone prettier. Someone who takes care of herself." There was a pause. Then Mike's voice, soft, "Yeah, I know, Ma." And Mike agreed with her. That was the moment I knew. I was done. Not just with Doreen. Not just with Mike. With all of it. That night, after they went to sleep, I moved fast. First, Doreen's things. I packed every item she owned into boxes: clothes, medical supplies, the framed pictures from her room. Second, I made a call to a private nurse service I found online. I didn't care what it cost. I arranged for a nurse to arrive first thing in the morning and take Doreen to a care facility across town. Third, I packed my own bags. Only what mattered: clothes, my documents, my jewelry. I left behind the wedding album, my kitchenware, even my favorite books. I didn't want anything touched by this life. Last, the letter. I wrote it on plain white printer paper. It was not a love letter. It was not a goodbye letter. It was a bill, 3 pages long. Itemized. $3,200 in medical bills, $5,100 in therapy costs, $8,500 in equipment and modifications to the house, $12,000 paid to bring his truck payments up to date, $4,700 in credit card debt, now paid off at the bottom, in plain letters. This is what I gave you. This is what you threw away. And underneath that, you and your mother deserve each other. Good luck finding someone prettier who will wipe your ass for free. I tucked the letter under his pillow. At 5:30 a.m., I drove away without looking back. Leaving that house was the easiest hard thing I ever did. My hands shook on the steering wheel, but I didn't cry. Not a single tear. I rented a little studio apartment 2 towns over in Lawrence, Kansas. Nothing fancy: cheap carpet, weird smell, a leaky faucet, but it was mine. No Mike. No Doreen. No one to wipe up after but myself. The first few days felt like walking out of a coma. I slept like the dead. I didn't have to set alarms for medications. I didn't have to pretend to be deaf to insults. I didn't have to wonder if the man I loved thought I was good enough. I was free. But of course, Mike wasn't done with me. It started small. Blocked numbers calling my new phone. Voicemails with long silences. Emails from fake accounts. Please talk to me. You don't understand. It wasn't what it sounded like. I ignored all of it. Then one day, I got a knock at my apartment door. It was one of Mike's old friends, Jerry. He looked uncomfortable, holding a 6-pack of beer like a peace offering. Hey, mind if we talk? I should have slammed the door, but stupid curiosity made me let him in. We sat awkwardly at my tiny kitchen table. He cracked a beer, took a swig, and said, "Mike's a wreck, you know. He's losing everything." I stared at him. Good, I thought. He kept talking. His credit's shut. He can't get a loan to save his life. The private nurse people are suing him for unpaid bills. His truck got repoed last month. He's working temp jobs now. Lost his union card. Jerry scratched the back of his neck, eyes shifting. Look, he knows he messed up. He's not even mad you left. He's mad you didn't give him a chance to fix it. I laughed. A loud, bitter, ugly sound. He had plenty of chances, I said. He took a big, steaming dump on every single one. Jerry nodded, shamefaced. Yeah. Well, Doreen's in a cheap home now. He can't afford better. He's barely hanging on. I stood up. Tell him I'm not coming back. Tell him to enjoy the prettier girls. Jerry opened his mouth, but I was already opening the door for him. A week later, the real fun began. I got a letter in the mail, no return address. Inside was a picture. He didn't care about me. He cared about who took care of him. Then came the last twist. One night, while scrolling social media, I stumbled across a local community gossip page. Someone had posted a picture of Doreen. She was sitting outside the cheap nursing home, in a wheelchair, shaking her fist at the camera, scowling like a demon. The caption? Beware, this lady calls nurses fat and ugly, refuses meds, and tried to hit someone with her cane. Hundreds of comments laughing, roasting her. I sat back and stared at the screen. The woman who told my husband I wasn't pretty enough. The woman who sneered and cursed while I wiped her and fed her. Now rotting away in a bad home, hated by everyone around her. And Mike? Homeless, broke, humiliated. And I hadn't even started my real revenge yet. Because you see, when I paid off all Mike's debts in my name before leaving, I made sure to keep receipts. I met with a lawyer. Not some fancy downtown guy, just a small-town woman named Brenda who had an office next to a bait shop. She wore jeans and boots to work and didn't blink once when I told her my story. "You're entitled to reimbursement," she said, tapping her pen against the table. "Technically, you paid off joint marital debts. You have documentation. You can sue him for half." I nodded. "I don't want half. I want him crushed." She smiled slow. "We can do that too." Filing the lawsuit was easier than I thought. Because I had kept records, we didn't even have to fight over it. Mike's address was listed on the court papers. His new address, some rundown motel out near the highway. When the server delivered the summons, he apparently cried. Good. The court date was set for 2 months later. In that time, Mike sent more emails. Long, pathetic ramblings. "Please don't do this. We were good once. It was my mom. She poisoned my mind." I didn't answer. Because now I saw him clearly, a man who needed someone to blame more than he needed to be a man. The morning of the court hearing, I dressed carefully. Nothing fancy. Simple black slacks, a clean blouse, flats. I didn't want to look flashy. I wanted to look like what I was, a woman who did the work. A woman who had been betrayed. A woman who was done being quiet. Mike showed up looking like hell. Baggy jeans. Stained t-shirt. His hair was a mess. His face was bloated. He looked at me across the courtroom with bloodshot eyes. I stared right through him. When the judge asked for evidence, Brenda handed over the folders. The judge added that if he defaulted, liens would be placed on anything he tried to own: cars, property, tax returns. In other words, no escape. After court, Mike tried to follow me to the parking lot. "Please," he called. "Can we just talk?" I didn't even look back. I got in my car. I locked the doors. As I pulled away, I saw him in the rearview mirror, standing in the parking lot, hands dangling at his sides, looking like a kicked dog. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. Because remember, Doreen was still alive. Still miserable. Still breathing up someone else's air. And I wasn't done with her either. I had one more move to make. After court, life got quieter. For a while, I let myself heal. I started saving money again. I went for walks in the evening. I even started reading books again, real books, not just bills and appointment reminders. But Doreen, that name still burned under my skin. The woman who insulted me while I wiped her body. The woman who said I wasn't good enough while I killed myself trying to keep her alive. That was my first gift to myself, watching her rot in a place she hated, surrounded by people who didn't care if she lived or died, but it wasn't enough. No. She needed to feel what it felt like to be truly helpless, to be powerless. So I started small. Every time I volunteered, I brought the nurses coffee, donuts, small gifts. I became their favorite. They told me all sorts of things without realizing it. Like how Doreen refused her meds unless she got special treatment. Like how she called the nurses fat whores and stupid bitches. Like how she had already been reported 3 times for abuse, but kept narrowly avoiding getting kicked out because nobody wanted to take her. One nurse, a kind woman named Tracy, even joked, if her family showed up and requested a psych eval, we could finally get her transferred to state care. My heart skipped a beat. Psych eval. Transfer. State care. A place even worse than here. A place with locked doors, no visitors, shared rooms with screaming patients. Worse food. Worse beds. Worse everything. The absolute bottom of the barrel. Exactly where she belonged. I asked Tracy real casual, "So, how does that happen?" "If the family wanted her evaluated?" She laughed. "Oh, just a simple form. Family member has to request it. Or legal guardian. I smiled. Inside, I was already planning. Because technically, I was still legally tied to Doreen through Mike. Until the divorce papers went through, I had filed right after suing Mike. I was still her family. I had rights. Rights she had no idea I would use. The next morning, I went back to the nursing home. I wore my cleanest jeans, a plain t-shirt, and my old wedding band. I needed to look just right, tired, concerned, like a struggling family member. I asked to speak to the administrator. When she came out, all smiles and handshakes, I dropped it casually. I'm still listed as Doreen's emergency contact. I'm married to her son. He's, well, unavailable right now. Technically true. Mike wasn't in jail, but he might as well have been with the way his life was falling apart. The administrator nodded. I said the words I knew would open the door. She's not doing well mentally. I'm really worried about her health and safety. I think she needs a full psych evaluation. Her face changed immediately. They loved hearing those words. Because once a psych eval was started, the facility could shift the blame. They could move her out without it looking like they were dumping a problem patient. They wanted her gone just as much as I did. By the end of that week, a doctor came to evaluate Doreen. Of course, she didn't help herself. She screamed at him, called him a cripple lover and pencil-necked bastard, threw her plastic water cup at his head. He dodged it easily, looked like this wasn't his first rodeo. 2 days later, the papers came through. Doreen was deemed unmanageable and at risk to herself and others. The nursing home called me to update the family. I pretended to be upset. Oh, that's terrible. What happens now? The administrator cleared her throat. She'll be transferred to state residential care unless another facility accepts her. But, well, no one's accepting her. I made my voice shake. Please. Do whatever you think is best. She thanked me. Hung up. And that was it. Doreen was shipped off like unwanted cargo to a state home 3 counties over. A place so bad it had been on the local news twice for elder abuse scandals. Peeling walls. Rooms packed 4 to a room. Meals that looked like dog food. No cable TV. No private rooms. No special therapy sessions. Just screaming, neglected patients, and tired nurses doing the bare minimum. I didn't visit. Not once. I didn't send letters. No birthday cards. No flowers. Doreen was alone. Exactly how she made me feel for all those months in my own home. Meanwhile, Mike kept trying to find me. I knew from mutual friends that he lost his motel room after missing payments. He was couch surfing with whoever would take him. His tools got pawned. His credit was dead. He filed for bankruptcy, but still owed me because the court declared the judgment non-dischargeable. Meaning, bankruptcy didn't erase the debt he owed me. Every tax refund? Every side job paycheck? Every scrap of money he tried to legally touch for the next 5 years? Mine. I didn't just leave them behind. I buried them. Buried them under the weight of their own actions. I didn't think about Mike much after that. I thought about myself. About building my life from scratch. About breathing without feeling like I owed someone every second of my day. I worked. I saved. I started smiling at strangers again. I even got a cat. A little gray one that slept on my chest like a purring heater. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And then, Mike made his final move. It happened on a cold Friday night, 6 months after the court judgment. I was coming home from the grocery store, balancing 2 bags, keys between my fingers, when I noticed something strange. A truck was parked across the street. Old. Rusted out. Looked like it could barely drive another mile. I wouldn't have thought much of it, except for the figure slumped behind the wheel. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was afraid. Because I was thinking. The next morning, I made 2 phone calls. First, to my lawyer. Can I get a restraining order if I have proof he's stalking me? She said yes. Second, to the police. I filed a report. Explained everything. Gave them the court papers showing he owed me money. Showed them a blurry photo I took of the truck. They nodded. Said they'd handle it. 3 days later, Mike tried again. This time, he actually knocked. I didn't answer. He pounded harder. Please, he shouted through the door. Just talk to me. I sat on my couch, calm as still water, phone in hand. I called the police while he kept banging. When they showed up 10 minutes later, they pulled him off my doorstep like a rag doll. I watched through the peephole as they cuffed him, pushed his head down, and loaded him into the back of the cruiser. I found out later that because of the restraining order, Mike got slapped with a misdemeanor. Violation of court orders. A mark on his already ruined record. Small, maybe, but it was enough to guarantee that any decent employer wouldn't touch him now. He was radioactive. As for Doreen, the last I heard from an old nursing friend, she had a fall at the state home, broke her hip, refused surgery, became completely bedridden, angrier than ever, completely alone. No visitors, no flowers, no family. After they arrested Mike, he didn't try to find me again. Maybe he finally realized there was nothing left to take. Maybe jail scared him straight for once. Didn't matter. He was out of my life, truly and fully. The divorce went through a few months later. Clean and simple. Maybe he finally understood. Maybe he finally saw what he destroyed with his cowardice. Or maybe, deep down, he was just like his mother, rotten and selfish to the core. As for Doreen, she died 9 months after being moved to the state facility. Not peacefully. Not surrounded by love. She died during a winter storm when the heating failed for 2 days straight. Froze to death in her bed, screaming at the nurses who barely even checked on her. There was no funeral, no obituary, no family to claim her body. They buried her in an unmarked grave out behind the facility. Just a number on a metal stick. No prayers, no tears, no memories, nothing. And me? I kept living. I kept building. I paid off the last of my debts. I took a better job at a pediatric dental clinic. I made real friends, ones who didn't just need things from me. I went to therapy. I learned how to set boundaries so thick and high no man or woman could ever climb them again. I wasn't the same woman who married Mike. That woman was gone. Good. Because the woman I became, the one who walked through hell and came out stronger, she doesn't take shit from anyone. Not husbands. Not mothers-in-law. Not anyone. Mike destroyed the old me. He and Doreen tried to bury me. Instead, I buried them. And I walked away without ever looking back.